Welcome to Generating Gratitude, a look at personal growth in a grateful life. What follows is not professional advice or medical recommendation, but stories and perspectives about living with gratitude. Now, here is your host, Joe Volk.
Welcome, everybody. Another blazing edition of Generating Gratitude here on WSGW. Let's start off the show the way we always do. Sing along if you know the words, which if you've listened to this show, you do know the words. You can't be grateful and you can't be hateful at the same time. Every minute, every second of every day, that's your choice. You can be hateful or you can live in gratitude. Those of us who are happy prefer to live in that gratitude. Grateful today, Jim Dwyer is my guest. He spent an eternity at SVSU, 42 years, making the quality of life for students and faculty and everybody involved in who came in contact with Jim, making their life better. And now Jim, busier in retirement than he was ever in the working world. We have a chance to talk to him today. Jim, welcome to Generating Gratitude.
Thanks, Joe. I just love the topic, and I'm a firm believer in gratitude, no question about it. So what a great opportunity to share some insights today with your audience.
You know, it's been my experience in life, Jim, that if you're at a cocktail party or if you're having a conversation with somebody, the quickest way, there are two topics that will kill that conversation almost immediately. First one is if you ask somebody about what's your view, what's your opinion of God. We're not going to do that one today, but the one you deal with is if you ask somebody, what's your purpose in life? And that question is tough for younger people. And I saw your retirement videos, getting people ready for retirement. That's even tough for older people as well. Jim, what do you tell people about purpose?
I think, again, in reflection, we're on this earth for a very short period of time. And every day we have moments to share gratitude and compassion and kindness and just be willing to really help others whenever that opportunity goes. So for me, purpose is a meaning that every day you get up and you have an opportunity to make a difference. And it's as simple as that. I mean, when I reflect on my 42-year career at Saginaw Valley, and I had some very high-end positions administratively, but nothing was as important as working with a student and making that student understand their potential and then watching them grow and then eventually do some incredible things in our society. To me, that's priceless.
And it's so much different today with the introduction of social media, where the toilet that social media is kind of, I call it like the toilet of envy. Mm-hmm. People trying to justify their lives, justify with their posts. Mm-hmm. You know, it seems like going away from like self-satisfaction to like trying to prove to myself that my life is valuable and worthwhile by what I'm posting or what I had for dinner or this or that. Have you noticed the change?
I think, again, when I talk about social media, I think it's really impacted our younger generation. I think this issue, am I good enough? Do I have enough gifts? You know, look what these people are doing. So it creates envy. It creates this poor me syndrome. And when you really reflect, and as we mature, it's really about whatever gifts, and I'm a person of faith, but whatever gifts you've been given, and how can you utilize those gifts to make life better? How can you be more selfless? How can you be less focused on yourself? I really believe also in purpose, that when you have service, that when you're looking out and having an impact, it's just sometimes you feel better than the person you're helping because of this impact that you've had on that individual, whether it's something quick or it could be over a 4 or 5 year period.
And you've worked with students, and you've worked with faculty, you've worked with retirees. It's kind of interesting. That purpose can change. It's a purpose when you're 20 might not be different than a purpose when you're 65.
So it was really interesting last night. I watched Ben Sass. He was being interviewed on CNN, and if you know anything, he was the senator and president of Florida University, and he now has pancreatic cancer. And it was so interesting, listening to him. I was in tears most of the hour long. And one of the things he said is, in my suffering, I've realized what is really important. And I think when you ask that question, what is really important? I think there are periods, if you're blessed to have a family takes priority in how you raise your children, if you're blessed to have children. Or again, when you're what really gives you a sense of excitement and purpose. And he was just magnificent last night because he has a couple months to live. And so he's just shared some really great insights. And I think if people kind of put that in perspective, you start looking at life through a whole different lens.
One of the things I like about this show, and one of the advantages I have in life, and I'll call it an advantage, of being a recovering alcoholic, is I love to talk to people who have come back from the verge of losing everything.
Amen.
Because the gratitude, that zaps your priorities right back into focus. When you've lost your kids, your job, your family, you've come back from that. You suddenly realize what's important.
100. I always tell people it's usually in the valleys that we learn, okay, not the mountaintops. And when we're in those valleys, we begin to understand what is really important, okay? When someone's going through a divorce, or again, in your case, and congratulations, by the way, and when you go through whatever kinds of things, a health element, you begin to kind of get a different perspective on really what is important in life. Is money? Is that going to drive success? Is having that nice home? Those are all things, sure, we would like to have. But in the sense, it's really using the gifts you have to make our society better. Okay? And it's as simple as that. And I think sometimes people get caught up, like when you're talking about social media, and people will just go on and on about what they're doing. And I'm going, it just tells me the lack of focus on really what is important. And when can you use, again, your gifts to just be kind? Sometimes that is a simple act every day that can make a difference. And I often tell people that if we really knew the stories of people we're talking to, would we be so much more kinder? And so would we, the fruits of the spirit of kindness and compassion and caring, because we all have our crosses, we all have our challenges. And the more we're in tune to that, the more we begin to have that sense of purpose and meaning in how we live our life.
Jim, we're going to leave it right there for just a second. Great conversation. Jim Dwyer is with us. Oh, amazing. I love talking about this stuff. It's gratitude, man. We'll be right back. You're listening to Generating Gratitude here on WSTW. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back to Generating Gratitude here on WSTW. Joe, still your host. My guest, still Jim Dwyer. After 42 years of helping people, students, faculty, everybody you come in contact with at SVSU, now he's busier than ever helping others in his retirement. And we'll get to that in just a second, Jim. You brought up before we went on break a point that I've often brought up, and something I had to live to really get this lesson. But it's interesting because when I die, the people that'll miss me most, or the people that'll be at my funeral, and I've learned this by going to a few funerals, are not necessarily my family. Some of my family will be there just to make sure that they can get the money. Coworkers, through the years, they come and go. But the people that'll miss me the most, people that'll miss anybody the most, are the people that you've helped. The people whose lives you've made an impact on. And you've made impact on a lot of lives, Jim. Expand on that.
Well, I think I can't tell you how often I'm in the community and someone comes up to me and says, you probably don't remember me. 20 years ago, I was at a low moment. I didn't think I had the ability to pursue a college degree. I have all kinds of challenges. I don't have family support. And you just didn't take that as an option. You just said, this is what we're going to do. These are the steps we're going to take. And you will know why this is all going to work out. And that's why my job was a calling. It wasn't a career. I had an opportunity to work with the best and brightest. I had the opportunity to work with people that shouldn't even be in college. But in those situations, it's amazing when you just take the time to really listen. I think one of the skills that we need to all be better at is really listening to people, and then, just helping them through the process. And that gave me more meaning than any amount of money that I made in some of the positions I held at Saginaw Valley. So, and then for me is watching these people before my eyes do incredible things in our community, whether it's nursing, whether it's teaching, whether a physician, it doesn't matter. Social worker, they now are taking their gifts and helping impact the quality of life in the region or worldwide.
And you're proof of this, Jim. I tell this to young people all the time, and I tell it to old people too because they kind of forget. And it's so true in life. For you to receive anything, you got to give it first. It doesn't work the other way. It doesn't.
Right.
Life isn't a tit for tat. Okay, I'm going to give this much. I expect this much in return. It's you got to give, and it's not up to you how much you get back or when you're going to get it back. But if you believe in karma, it's going to happen.
100%. It's giving that we receive. And I will tell people all the time, it's not about us. It's not about you and me. It's about that opportunity to give. And when you give, so many other things will happen in your life. But you'll just have that attitude of life of really making a difference. And when you have that, you just I'm going to say enjoy. You have joy. Maybe the better word, you have joy.
Yes.
Because you have joy in chaos. Because things are chaotic. I don't care what anybody says. But that ultimately, when you have that focus of giving, that's when things really happen. And that's when you change. You have this change within yourself.
And that's so true because I work with, and I am one, recovering alcoholics, recovering drug addicts. The only way that we can stay sober is to give it back.
Amen.
is to work with others, is to get your hands up into the guts and go into the places where you used to go and get your hands dirty and help others, because it just changes everything. I wish more people, I don't wish more alcoholics or addicts, but I wish more people, especially older folks, because there's this younger generation out there that just needs somebody to help them.
So you bring up a great topic. I was listening to a great podcast the other day. As we get in retirement age, we have an incredible opportunity to give back and to share our wisdom, whether it's starting a business, whether it's getting engaged where I'm at right now at the Hunger Solutions Center, or whether it's somewhere that people that you could just go back to a college or a university you graduated and share your wealth of knowledge. And that then gives twofold. One, the retiree has a sense of purpose, a true sense of purpose, and that student is getting some incredible wisdom, because it's wisdom.
Yes.
That really makes a difference in people's transition.
Well, that too, and sometimes younger people just need somebody who's been there to just say, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I mean,
you bring up
what you're experiencing now is,
you bring up a great topic, okay? And I tell every time I'm working with college students, I said, get a mentor, get a coach. As we get older, we can get a coach, because that knowledge of knowing that life is what it is, and just being grounded and getting that sage advice from a mentor. My mentor, I was going to leave my job 3 times when I was a young professional, okay? And he just didn't let go. And he had such an impact on me when I became an administrator, because he taught me how to be a servant leader. It's never about you. It's about getting the people that work under you to reach their potential. And you do that by being a servant leader.
And that's a great advice for anybody, because that relationship changes. The young people can teach the old people a little something as well.
No question about it. And but I think it's really important, because when people don't have a mentor or a coach, it's easy, again, when you ask the key question today about social media, it's easy to be too lonely. It's easy to not be engaged. And so subsequently, lots of things happen, okay? And that's why that value of that mentorship helps keep you focused on ultimately where you want to go.
The most deadly thing in life is isolation.
100%.
Whether it's whether it's an addict 100%. Or an old person, or feeling alone at work or at a job, isolation, man, will kill you.
That's why it's so important when you ask the question of purpose and passion. There are so many opportunities in our community as we get older or retire. There's so many opportunities to be engaged in nonprofits, to really utilize your skills to make transformation to those that really need it. And then you just have this such a good feeling of joy that you're really making a difference in whatever you choose to do.
Jim, I got about a minute left. Tell me what you're doing down there at the food. You're slinging some meals today, aren't you?
So one of the gifts I got, I just real quickly, the Hunger Solutions Center is home of Hidden Harvest and Eastside Soup Kitchen. This past year, Hidden Harvest did 200 nonprofits that they saved $11.5 million of food. The Eastside Soup Kitchen did over 200,000+ meals and 35 meals for the youth. So what we've done, my gift was we have just raised $8.6 million to double the size of Hidden Harvest and the Eastside Soup Kitchen, because there's 66,000 families in our community that have food insecurities. So just like today, I just did 600 meals. I just prepared 600 meals. We probably will serve at least 900 meals today, okay? And so my calling was to take the skill sets that I did for 42 years and use those to help engage the community to support this vision, and it is going to be special. And I am going to encourage, when we're done, hopefully in December, that all your listeners come down and see this facility that will impact hunger for the next 25 years. So that's it's been a full-time job for the last 4 years.
So you really haven't done anything this morning except for the 600 meal thing.
yeah.
Jim Dwyer, everybody. Jim, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm very grateful to have you, and that spirit of connection, that spirit of gratitude, you really live it, and that's amazing, living by example. And obviously now you're busier than you ever were when you were at SVSU. Jim, thank you very much for being on Generating Gratitude. Coming back, we'll have my friend Daniel on. Daniel is recovering. We'll get Daniel's story of recovery coming up in just a bit. You're listening to Generating Gratitude here on WSGW.
Now it's time for more great moments in gratitude with your host, Joe Volk.
Welcome back to Generating Gratitude here on WSGW. Great conversation with Jim Dwyer. Purpose in life. Everybody has to have a purpose. Got to have a reason to get up every morning. Sometimes, we know what our purpose is, but we just don't know what to call it. My purpose, you can't be hateful and you can't be grateful at the same time. My guest right now, grateful to have him. I'm sure he's got a purpose now. My friend Daniel. Daniel, how are you? Welcome to Generating Gratitude.
Thank you for having me. How are you this morning?
Good. Give us a little bit of where did you come from, Daniel? Give us your story, man.
I grew up in Akron, Michigan, a small farm town. My childhood wasn't the greatest. Slowly got into drinking. I mean, that's in a farming community, it's pretty common. And spent 35 years as an alcoholic. And things were okay until it wasn't. I was a functioning alcoholic. My bills were paid, so of course I couldn't have had a problem. I thought I didn't have a problem. Everything was fine until one day it was a problem.
It's interesting, Daniel, that me being a recovering alcoholic, you being recovering as well. There's a gap, because when I was drinking, especially near the end with all the isolation and such, I knew that I had a problem. But again, the toughest thing about knowing you have a problem, knowing that your life is unmanageable, and knowing that you're powerless in admitting it, that's a big step. How long did it take you, Daniel?
Pretty much 35 years. I mean, it was one of those that since I was always functioning, I didn't think I had a problem. I kind of eased up on drinking here and there, but never really stopped. And the biggest problem is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah.
Since everything was functioning, my job was good, my life was going good, I thought, there was no problem in my mind.
One of the interesting things, too, is when we finally admit it, everybody else in our life looks at us and goes, duh.
Right. Yeah, they start pointing out, like, oh, we've known that for years. And I'm like, well, But I also think we get into that mindset a lot of times, even if they try to say something or want to help us, if we're not ready for it, it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what it was it? You didn't notice that I might have had a drinking problem, running around without pants all those times in the bar. Yeah. Oh.
Right.
No self-awareness whatsoever.
Oh, none. It's just about having fun and getting that next drink.
So what was the bottom? What was the point? Because we all have to hit that point where, damn it, I never want to be here again. This is it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple things that happened in 2019. My daughter passed away, so of course that just gave me even more reasons to drink even more.
And how old was she, Daniel?
23.
Oh my goodness.
What's
what's the pain of that like? That I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the pain.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. It becomes this hole, and it's like a hole you didn't even realize could be there. The pain and the thinking just gets completely different. It's kind of hard to put into words. It's a loss beyond losses.
Yeah, you just can't. You just can't describe it. Does that make you angry? Did you get mad at God? Did you get mad at the world? There's a tendency for when a terrible, horrible tragedy like that happens.
I got mad at the world for a little bit. My spiritual beliefs, I don't really get mad at the creators because of my own personal beliefs. I was pretty mad at the world.
It's probably a good strategy not to get mad at God.
Because you're supposed to live your children.
Yeah.
So it's one of those when you ask a lot of questions why. But sometimes there's just not any. There is no answers. It happens.
And so then what happened?
And a couple years ago, I was married at the time, and my wife had a surgery, and some things went wrong. And then on May 5th of 2023, she passed away.
Oh, my goodness.
The only thing that was saved me from, in that area, I had found out a couple months before that she was having an extramarital affair. And I had gotten really drunk and made some bad decisions. And this is where my rock bottom came in, because I made some choices that put me in a place I really didn't want to be visiting. There's only one day, and that was long enough for me. And that was March 17th of 23.
Had a nice overnight stay. Had a nice overnight stay in a municipal hotel.
Correct. And they were nice enough, but it was not nice enough where I wanted to continue to visit. And then I decided it was time. I needed to do some changes. So I started going to some meetings, got into, talking with people and getting some counseling. Well, then she passed away 6 weeks later, 2 months. And so I honestly think that the universe and stuff was looking out for me, because if I would have still been drinking when that happened, I probably would have drank myself to death.
And you stayed sober during her death, correct?
Correct.
Wow.
I was about a month and a half in my sobriety when she passed away.
That's a really tough first home game, man. That's a really tough one. And how did you do it?
I got involved with meetings, a couple of recovery groups. I was 303 pounds, so I was way out of shape from, definitely my high school years were gone.
Yeah.
So I started walking and running to keep myself busy and keep my mind clear. And I spent a lot of time running and walking. That first year I did 6,500 miles just walking.
Wow.
And that was pretty much most of what kept me out of trouble and kept me busy.
And you bring up a great point, because I tell this to people, go to a lot of first step meetings, and I tell this to people in recovery, that I don't think they really emphasize it enough, and it's all personal choice. But when you first when you first get sober, when you first get clean, you have a lot of free time, and you have a lot of energy. And free time for recovering addicts and alcoholics is not our friend, because you leave us with enough free time, we'll get into trouble. The value of exercise and just moving your body and doing something physical. And I'm a big physical guy, Daniel, and so I believe that physical fitness kind of helps in recovery, and it sounds like you have that same experience.
Absolutely. So that's what kept me sober, and then getting my health back into shape. I went from 303 pounds to, at one point I was down to 175. It wasn't very comfortable, so I went to 193. But that just made my whole life in general have more oomph to it. Made it easier. I personally found it easier to stay away from alcohol because I was finally accomplishing some personal, in-depth gratitude stuff.
Well, it just, for me anyway, the physical stuff just makes me feel better about myself. That small little daily sense of accomplishment. That, yeah, I did that. I was able to do this, and that's important because when we first get into recovery, we're at the bottom, man. We need every little small battle, we need one or two small things to go right for us. And Daniel, you've had a lot of things go right for you, and you've really given back, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. We got to take a short break here. You're listening to Generating Gratitude here on WSGW. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Generating Gratitude here on WSGW. My guest is my friend Daniel. Daniel, 35 years of drinking. Amazing. Decides it's time to recover. Loses his daughter. Finds out some unsavory things about wife. Then loses the wife. And yet Daniel fights through it. Loses an immense amount of weight and now is in recovery. And Daniel, one of the things that's important in all recovery is giving to receive. And for us to stay sober, we have to break that isolation and we have to give of ourselves. And you do a great job of that. Explain what you're doing right now.
Well, I got to that point where I decided to help. People like me needed help. So I started facilitating a couple meetings in Carroll. And then that just wasn't enough for me. So I went and got my C-car. And then shortly after I got my C-car, I was introduced to a gentleman named Brian Patrick from Waygift. So I started helping. He opened a new house here in Carroll, recovery housing. So I was originally set up to be a liaison for him and just help out. Well, it became a lot more than that. I started managing the house. And now I work as a program manager for Waygift.
Now, explain to everybody what Waygift is. We've had Brian on the show, and his organization is great. But explain to everybody what are you grateful for today is what it stands for. But tell us what you do.
Waygift is a recovery housing for men right now. We have 3 facilities. We have one in Carroll, Michigan, one in Freeland, and we just opened one in Kansas City. And they just opened a community center where meetings are hosted. Waygift is about helping people get back on their feet. And the houses, specifically, what we do there is help men with resources and help them get an understanding to live a comfortable life and how to live a life substance-free.
And you bring up an important point, Daniel, that when people get out of treatment, that's only the start of the recovery process, because you can't take somebody, a recovering alcoholic or recovering addict, you can't take them out and you put them in rehab and then reintroduce them into the same environment. because it won't work that way. So you got to, when people get out, they got to have a place to go, and Waygift does that. And explain about your structure.
We have phases, 3 phases to the program. There's certain things that men have to do on each one, and each phase is the things that they have to do is to help make them better to be able to get into the community to do things, help them with Social Security cards, birth certificates, things like that. Because when they do come out of rehab, getting sober and staying clean is one thing. Learning to live in the community sober and clean is a whole different level of things.
Yeah, that's a different kind of ball game. Now, one of the things that we talk about in recovery is to keep it, you got to give it away. What are some of the things that you get by giving it away? Because you're doing a hell of a job. And what have you learned about your recovery by helping other guys recover?
What I've learned mostly is that how much I do need people. I was very much isolationist, and even when I first started getting sober, I went to meetings, but I was like, oh, I really don't need people. But we do. We all need people. And the guys teach me that every day. They are just as much part of my recovery as I am now. I learn from them, talking with them, being with them helps me just as much as I help them.
Because in life, I've learned that whether you're an addict, whether you're an alcoholic, whatever it is in life, isolation is deadly. Now, I had Jim Dwyer on just recently as a guest just a few minutes ago, and we talked about that, about how terrible isolation is. Because when I'm isolated, I used to drink with my 3 drinking buddies. My 3 drinking buddies were anger, resentment, and self-pity. And when I'm isolated, my drinking buddies come out. And so breaking that isolation, talking, just even listening, that's so important.
Oh, I agree so much. I was the same type of drinker, drank by myself and stuff. So it's like, just a lot of things in the community. People just listening helps so much. So many of the guys just have so much gratitude just for people listening. It's not even necessarily what they can do. The listening is the biggest thing they can do.
Yeah, that just people, whether we like it or not, okay, in the social media toilet world is telling us all differently, but whether we need other people. Because if you've been to enough support group meetings, you know the phrase, I get drunk, we stay sober.
Exactly. You can't do it by yourself. You have to do it as a community. And whatever that community looks like for you and the path you get on, all we can do is support them and just keep helping them with that. And the more support systems are out there, the better it is. Not everything's everybody's flavor. So the thing is, get people involved. The more people, they all have different aspects. They all can help in different ways.
And Daniel, one of the toughest things of recovery is reconciling with the past. You drank for 35 years. You had your tragedies. How did you learn to deal with the past? Because we got to play that game before we can move on to anything else.
For me, what it was, I'm a big believer in forgiving yourself. We can always ask for forgiveness from other people and go out, but if we don't start with ourselves and forgive ourselves, then our sobriety, honestly, is doomed from the beginning. We have to forgive ourselves and then reach out to the people you can without causing harm to them and asking for forgiveness. But if not, at the end of the night, when you put your head down on your pillow, at least you know you forgave yourself for your deeds. And that, for me, was just a blessing in itself when I was able to let go of my own hatred because I knew what I did.
Why are we so hard on ourselves? Like, we'd never be this hard on other people. But then when we turn it on to ourselves, it's like, wow, I'm really not good to myself.
Right, that old saying, we're our own worst enemy, is is about as real as it can get. It's something a kid used to laugh at when you used to hear the grandparents and stuff say that, but it is so real. Because, I mean, there's a difference between taking responsibility and holding ourselves accountable, though. Because something I used to do is, I mean, you know, I knew I was responsible for what I was doing, but I didn't hold myself accountable for it. And that's what the forgiveness has done, is it's helped me become accountable for what I've done.
Yeah, I can stay sober. I just have to get out of the way.
Exactly. If you get out of your own way, that's the easy part.
Yeah. Stop shooting myself in the foot. Daniel, we got about a minute left. It's been a great talk. If somebody wants to get involved with Waygift or kind of see what you're about, how would they do that?
They can look us up online. There's a Facebook page, and Waygift has a website that you can go and you can contact Brian, and he's looking for all kinds of help over there in Midland with the new community center. Or you can just reach out to me at 989-670-5913. I'm always looking for people to help with different things in the community in general. I'm very busy in this community.
And it's amazing, you know, you can start out thinking you're helping others, but in the end you'll figure out that you're really helping yourself, and you'll receive more than you can ever give.
Exactly.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. Daniel, his inspiring story here on Generating Gratitude. What a great show we had today. I don't know about you guys, but I had a hell of a good time today. Jim explaining to us about purpose. Daniel, you know, explaining to us 35 years. But it just goes to show you, and Daniel's a great example of that. It's not over until they put you in the box. 35 years. He could have just given up. He didn't. He recovered, and now, you know, it's not how the game goes. It's the final score, folks. The final score on this show is it's a good Generating Gratitude today. Thanks to Jonathan. Had a few hiccups, but we made it. We'll see you again next week here on Generating Gratitude on WSGW.